Welcome to the Spectrum Lounge podcast, where we discuss creatives of color disrupting the game in TV, film, and pop culture. I am your host, Rebecca Theodore-Vachon, and on this episode, we speak with Charm City Kings director Angel Manuel Soto. Charm City Kings is currently streaming on HBO Max. Take a listen. So welcome, Angel, to the Spectrum Lounge. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Sure. Happy release day. Charm City King releases on HBO Max today. Are you nervous? I mean, I know it premiered at Sundance. It got great reviews. It won Best Ensemble. But of course, you know, a public release is very different. How are you feeling today?
It is overwhelming. It's exciting to finally release this to the world. I've been looking forward for it to be released since April. So it's a
Yeah.
blessing. It's a blessing in disguise, to be honest. I'm very happy that HBO picked it up during these
Hmm.
crazy times. And
Yes.
what I like about that is that now, if we once were gonna be able to be on 1,300 theaters, now we have the opportunity
Hmm.
of being in over 50 million homes. So
Right.
it's kind of like exciting. You know, it's a vulnerable thing to do, but I guess that's kind of like when
Hmm.
you know it's over now. It's out there to the world to
Right.
do as they please with it, and you can only hope that it resonates with them the same way that it resonated with me when I first started doing it.
Hmm. Great. So what was it about this project? Because you started out as an indie director and this is your first studio production. What was it about Charm City Kings that spoke to you? That were like, I wanna direct this project.
Well, what I like about this project in particular was that when I first got the script, it was titled 12 O'Clock Boys, and it was written by Barry Jenkins. So seeing
Mm,
those two things together at the title of the script is very alluring. I was already a fan of the documentary when it came out, and I loved that world that was depicted in it, and the
mm-hmm,
characters in it, and seeing the title, the name of Barry Jenkins, as a director that I've always wanted to emulate his career, and who inspires me a lot in his work. Uh, that really caught my attention. But what really sold it for me was the character of Mouse and the world he lived in. If it didn't say it was Baltimore, it could have easily been in Puerto Rico, and that's where I
right.
found that this is the opportunity to tell the story of not just a kid from Baltimore, and not just a black kid, but also brown kids everywhere and marginalized kids in disenfranchised communities all around America. And I started seeing that there were more similarities between Baltimore and Puerto Rico that anybody could think of. And seeing Mouse's journey and how he navigated that world, the same temptations, the same wants and needs, the same obstacles. It was kind of like seeing the story of a Puerto Rican boy. And for me, that was when I was like, this is the opportunity to tell our story as well. And I'm kind of like uh, playing on that historical aspect of black and brown people throughout, and their intersectionality of our cultures, was something that for me was very strong. I have family in Bronx, and in Puerto Rico. Everything has been kind of like that way, at least where I come from. And being able to see such a diverse cast on screen, and having the trust from Jada and Caleb, who both are from Baltimore, and trusted me into directing this film. I felt like this was the perfect opportunity to not only create a love letter to Baltimore, but also a love letter for all marginalized youth and disenfranchised communities in America.
Right. Um, Jahi Winston, who plays the lead role of Mouse, he's so excellent in this role. Can you tell us a little bit about casting his role and the other pivotal roles, and what was it about Jahi's audition that made you say, yes, I want to cast him in this role?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, Yahi, what Yahi had going for him, which I think was one of the most impressive things that stood out, was that from the get-go, Yahi is an empath. He's a kid that his resting face, uh, his eyes, they have this level of humanity and empathy that really, for me, was what I wanted to stand out of the character of Mouse. Because yes, the streets and the tropes of a coming of age story, and the location, um, demands certain things on the exterior, but on the interior, being able to get a character, a an actor that embodies all of that, and that owns it as if it was his own story, is the hardest thing to find. And I think at the end, what really kind of like sold it when it came to like Lamont and 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 the character. I mean, that's Danielle and Kasai who play Lamont and Swordagar respectfully. Um, Seeing them together on the chemistry reads, that was when the magic really hit. That was the moment that we all understood and we saw right there, like, these are them. Like, that chemistry is one of the harder things to pull off, and being able to see them actually execute it flawlessly at seconds of meeting each other, that was really what sold it for us.
Right. Speaking of chemistry, one of the things that I really loved about the movie was sort of like the romance between Mouse and the new girl on the block, Nikki, who's played by
Yeah.
Chandler DuPont. They were just so sweet. Like I feel like, especially when we tell like these black coming of age stories, or especially when it's from a black male point of view, or a person of color, there's usually a lack of sensitivity, you know what I mean? But the two of them, there was just like this sweetness about them. And also the fact that Nikki's character, like, she was really smart, like
Hmm.
he's trying to run game on her, and she sees him for what for what he's trying to do. Could you tell us a little bit? I mean, what was it when you were casting Nikki in that role? Were there like any chemistry reads between the two actors, and were there any conversations on how you wanted that romance or that relationship to be shown on screen?
Yeah, I mean, we often joked about the poetic justice type of look, and something about Nikki really gave that mixture of Chandler Dupont, the name of the actress playing Nikki. She her station life and her innocence, and her brains really did play into a different way of perceiving the character of Nikki. We did a beautiful cast also, and we found amazing talents, and they all gave Nikki a specific edge, and they all would have worked. If we wanted to go that route. But Chandler was able to embody this innocence of like the first love, or like the girl next door type of first love that you remember growing older. And I Sherman Payne, the writer, and myself, when talking about that, we really wanted to Sherman's journey, or not journey, Sherman's motive was the humanity of the characters, and I think that playing into their age, I we really wanted to protect the innocence of that age, and try to let them pretty much be that. A lot of the reactions, the faces, um, I caught on some things that I liked, and I remember telling them like, yeah, do that thing you do with your face when you're talking, and she I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, and
Mhm.
I was like, okay, well, you know what? That's actually beautiful because it's something that comes really from her and her own experience, and that's how she would react in a certain way, and I think that definitely gave this purity to this relationship that It's one of those things that when people say, "Oh, wouldn't it be nice to go back to simpler times?" I think like that type of love is the simpler love.
Hmm. So in this movie, there's a lot of technical aspects of shooting the bikers. What was the process of like getting? Because I know you used real life bikers in the movie. What was the process of getting them, of casting them in the movie, and just shooting in Baltimore because it's such a specific story set in Baltimore? What was the reception like from the actual residents of Baltimore shooting Charm City Kings?
Well, we had a lot of support of the community. We had the support of Willie Wayne, who is like the godfather of bike life there, and through him and his whole crew, we were able to spend not only time with them, but really um, see them besides riding bikes and be able to see them for who they really are. And I think that having them involved in letting them do their thing, right? Like it wasn't, we were like, oh, we want you to come from here to there and do a wheelie, but we want you to do the one that you feel is awesome. Like this is your time to show the world how good you are at this, and people can see how talented you guys are. So I don't want to limit anything you guys want to do. And I think that letting them be open and be involved in those elements of the production allow them to really own their story and support it along the way. I think that with that, every time we're on a close set, a lot of the kids around really spend their time with us, and we were able to meet some of them. We were able to provide jobs for some of them, working as security PAs and things like that. And even one of them, Marvin Rahim, who started his first week like just hanging around, then the second week he started working as a PA, and then the third week we had this incident not incident but we had an actor who was supposed to ride a bike, and the day before shooting his scene he came out and said that he cannot ride a bike, and we had to improvise at the moment. So Marvin
Oh my
was
gosh.
there, and we were like, hey, can you ride? And he's like, yeah, I can ride. He's one of he started with
Mm,
the 12 o'clock boys, and we were like, dope, can you act? And he's like, no, I cannot act. And we were like, okay, then you know what? Tomorrow you're gonna be an actor. So we hired him right there to act, and he played Derek, uh, the guy that steals the
wow.
bike and gets beat up.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that character of Derek is played by a native Baltimorean that was right there, and he stepped up to the plate. He owned it, and
Mm,
he was a great team player, and he was there every single time, making keeping us in check. And not only him, but we also had Coco, who is in the movie, in the documentary. She also plays
mm,
she plays herself really in that balcony scene with
right.
Tiana. And we have Mouse as well. I mean Pug, sorry. Pug, who is the main character in the documentary. He plays the brother of Miles, and those are a few of them. We also have like Chino Braxton, who plays Jamal, and Willie Queen, who plays Queen. They're both writers from Baltimore, and they have really important roles in the movie. So yeah, I guess going through that route definitely helped us. Um, get the respect and the welcome of the community, and
Right.
and so far the ones that have seen it from Baltimore that were in the movie, they've been loving it, and I hope they're proud of it, and we did our best into being true to who they are externally, but I really do hope that the opportunities and the potential that the youth have can be seen through the movie and they can embrace it.
Right. The one storyline that I really appreciated too is we have Mouse, who has this mentor, or his mentor is an actual cop, a black cop, Officer Rivers. And I appreciated that they showed the complication of that, because he is a cop, but he's also a black man. And so especially in Baltimore, we know, with the case of Freddie Gray, Baltimore has been a site of a lot of Black Lives Matter protests. Can you tell us a little bit about crafting that relationship and just kind of showing the complications of that, of having a black man who's also a cop, you know what I mean? Where sometimes we do see that we see that Rivers does try to protect the community, but ultimately, like the scene he has with Blax, he is ultimately somebody who is blue.
Mhm.
So yeah, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, Sherman wrote that character in a way that definitely explores the complications and almost the paradox that lives within black cops, or cops of color for that matter, given the current state of events as well. But and also the historical complexities of the police. But for me, it was more of showing, if something was more of showing what, as a society, I would expect a police to be, as opposed to saying this is how they are. I know that Detective Rivers is probably the good apple on a rotten sack of apples, but he his pursuit of something better, or whatever policing looks like the one that takes care of the community, and which, that I think that's what we're all hoping for, is the whole restructuration and changing of what policing looks like. For me, he's more of a, this is what I want to see on the police, as opposed to this is what the police is. And with that, the same way, like the ending and a lot of other elements in the movie, um, having it not be a documentary and having those poetic licenses to show some hope. Sometimes hope is not there explicitly, and it may become in form of fantasy, but maybe that fantasy could be fostered and put into action and actually make a difference in the communities if taken to practice. That's why the whole idea, whether uh, not realistic as it may be or realistic as it could be, the fact that somebody who's not your father is willing to give his life for you, uh, it is a hope that that at least I would like to achieve in a community where everybody treats each other as a family member. And if there's somebody without a father, there's mentors here who are willing to take that kid into their wings, because more times than not, it is that example that we are not seeing what's needed to make a difference. That's why the topic of mentorships is very important. And that's why the topic of policing, when you see policing happening the way we already know, it's you have that chasing, like you have that anger, you have like a bunch, you have this other stuff that is, it criminalizes and keeps communities marginalized. But when you have this idea of what mentorship looks like when it comes to everybody involved in society, I feel that there is an obligation to reevaluate how stuff have been doing, and maybe it's time for cops to imitate um, Detective Rivers more than they would imitate, I don't know, those gun happy shooting police beat people over the head type of characters.
All right. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with
Well,
us,
thank you so
Anel,
much
and
for your time.
congratulations.
I appreciate the talk. Thank
And
you.
absolutely. And thank you for listening to another episode of the Spectrum Lounge. See you on the other side.
See ya.